Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Pam and I sell online used or pre-owned items for a living. If you're not new here, thanks for coming back. I am here today with a what sold for the month of October. I'm just gonna go over my 10 best sales and my 5 not so good sales. But before I get into that, I have some stats for you guys, some numbers to share. So basically, I like to pay myself every Friday. So my total payouts every Friday for the month of October totaled $2,785. So that's after fees, but of course before taxes, and of course that doesn't include my cost of goods that I paid for the items, but that is what I was paid out. And again, I pay myself every Friday. So $2,785.06. Then in the month of October, I worked a total of 80 and a half hours, which averages to about 20 hours a week. Now this has been a crazy month. Actually, it's kind of been a crazy year. So I would like to ultimately get up to 30, 40 hours a week. But right now, my average for the month of October was 20 hours a week. So what I like to do, just to give myself an idea of what I make, at least an hour. I didn't do this I've been reselling for 5 years and I only recently started doing this. Actually, I've done it on and off, but I would always forget to be consistent with it, so my numbers wouldn't make sense. But I have been very, very consistent about clocking in and clocking out. That's what I call it. But basically what I do is I use my phone's timer, and whenever I'm working, I set the timer, I start it, and if I stop to do anything in the house or if my daughter needs me for something, I stop the timer. And this is what I mean, like before I was really not good about remembering to stop and start the timer. But my daughter's in daycare and preschool most of the time that I'm working, so I don't have those interruptions as much, and I've just been much better about clocking in when I'm working and then turning that timer off when I'm not. So basically what I do is I take my total payouts, the total amount of payouts I had for the month, and I divide that by how many hours I worked, just to give myself an idea of what I'm making hourly. So for this month, my hourly rate came to $34.59, and of course that is before taxes. So I just want to add that whenever I go sourcing, I don't turn on my timer when I'm driving. So I turn on the timer when I'm actually in the store sourcing, and my way of thinking for that is, when I had a 9-to-5 job and I worked 40 hours a week, I didn't calculate the commute time to get there. So like my pay was X amount and I worked 40 hours a week. I also spent 10 hours commuting, which totally sucked. And I don't miss that, but that wasn't calculated into my hours. So that's why when I'm driving to a thrift store, I turn it off and I only turn it back on when I'm actually in the thrift store sourcing. So yeah, I just like to have those numbers handy just to keep me in check, keep me in line, and make sure that I'm, not making like $6 an hour at the end of the day, which is probably like what I made when I first started within the first few months, when I really wasn't sure what I was doing. And I was learning brands and I was figuring out like an inventory system and a spreadsheet and how to keep track of all of that stuff. So the first few months of doing this, if you're new, is going to be a little tricky, but you keep at it and you just keep improving every day, and you'll eventually get to a place where you're really comfortable. I know in my business, I've made a ton of changes when it comes to my inventory management and how I do my bookkeeping and stuff like that. So yeah, just stick with it. And YouTube helped me a lot, and different reselling groups, just to get ideas on what other people were doing and seeing what worked for me. Okay, so some additional stats there. I sold a total of 131 items. eBay came in first place as far as sales, then Poshmark, then Mercari, and then Facebook Marketplace. So speaking of Facebook Marketplace, I don't normally sell on there anymore. The main platforms I list on every day is eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. It used to be Facebook Marketplace, but that really died down and it just wasn't worth it for me to list there anymore. However, earlier this month, I purchased a number of St. John items, like the Santana knit St. John items, and I was really nervous because I paid up probably more than I should have for these items. And when I got home, I was kind of stressed because I paid a lot of money. And so I said I want to just open up the window of opportunity to be able to resell these items. And there are a number of Facebook groups for St. John, specifically for people who do dog shows. So I wanted to go ahead and list the St. John items I had on there. Then on top of that, we had a yard sale and made a total of $569. Well, at the yard sale itself, we made $424, but the bigger, bulkier furniture type items that didn't sell, I brought them back in the house and I listed them on Facebook Marketplace, and within a couple days, those sold as well. So we made another $569 just on our personal stuff. We have really been working to declutter. If you follow me at all on this channel or on Instagram, I have talked about how I lost my office earlier this year when we had a pipe malfunction in a bathroom that caused flooding in half of my home. It was a very, very difficult time for me and for our family as a whole because the house was under renovation for a very long time. But during this time, I really had to think about what I was gonna do as far as an office. I temporarily moved into the dining room, and that totally worked out for a little while, but it really sucked for us as a family because we didn't have a dining table to eat at. We did have a little table for the little kids, and then my son would eat in his room at his desk, and I would eat at my desk, and it was fine for a temporary solution, but after a while, we really missed having our dining room. So I'm happy to say that we have come up with a solution. My husband purchased a shed, I believe it was like 2 years ago now, for his own hobby stuff, and we have decided that he would move out of the shed and I would move my reselling business into the shed, and we would then free up the dining room so that we could have a dining room again. So I'm very excited about that. That's what we have been working on after the yard sale was done and the craziness of that, because that was a lot of work. Immediately following that, we went ahead and started moving some of his stuff out of the shed and moving our reselling. I say my reselling business because I work it the most, but he helps a ton. So we moved our reselling business into the shed, and we've been tweaking it and moving everything in and figuring out what the best process going forward is going to be. So I'm really, really excited to show you guys, hopefully in the next video, a tour of my new shed and the reselling business that I will be operating out of it. Okay, so some additional highlights for the month of October were, I found Rothy's for the first time ever. I was so excited, and I was very thankful to you guys, well, specifically those on Facebook groups, because I couldn't remember what the criteria was to know if Rothy's were authentic or not. I did talk about that in my last video where it's titled, I found Rothy's for the first time, but everyone there was able to help me out. It was unanimous as far as what to look for. So I was really excited to find Rothy's for the first time, and those did sell within probably 1 to 2 weeks. Another huge highlight for the month of October is we received 16 bags of free inventory. Also posted those hauls on previous videos. So 16 bags, of which maybe 25% of that was items that I could actually sell. And some of those have already sold, some of them I haven't listed yet, but I did review in my last video what actually sold and how much I've made from that so far. But we've done really well with some of the free inventory that we received. So we're super grateful for that. And I've said it a million times, make sure you're telling people what you do so they think about you when they're donating their clothing. Of course, another highlight was the yard sale and decluttering our home, just because with me moving into the shed and when we lost our office, basically once the renovations started, we decided that I would remain in the dining room and we would split up our 2 youngest girls who were sharing a bedroom. They were sharing a bedroom and it was great for the first couple years, but once my youngest one was around 3 years old, which she's almost 4 now, she's a 3-year-old, so she likes to make a mess and play and just, living her best 3-year-old life. While my 10-year-old stepdaughter, she has grown into being very organized and tidy, and obviously that was not working for the 2 of them. So we took this as an opportunity to keep me in the dining room and separate their rooms, but we knew we didn't want for me to be in the dining room forever. So we came up with this idea to move me into the shed. So that's been really exciting. But yeah, so we had to declutter in order to make all of these changes possible. So that's why we did this yard sale and got rid of a bunch of stuff, and again made over $500 in the process of decluttering. So that was a major plus. Now this isn't so much of a highlight, more of a low light, but we've had a lot of illnesses and a lot of kids home sick from school, so I didn't get to list as much or do as much as I wanted to in the month of October, but just coming up with the idea of how to get my office into a better space was such a win in itself that I am so excited. And now that it's November, I am ready to get in there. It is about 90% done. I went in there last night and did some photographing and steaming just so that I can figure out where everything should be placed and laid out. It's a very small space, so I want to make sure that I'm working as efficiently as possible. So I always take the time to really analyze what my space is like and if it's as functional as it can be. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with the 10 best sales I had for the month of October. and you're just gonna see me glancing over at my laptop, and then I will pop up a picture of the item that sold. Okay, so my best sale for the month of October were these Dan Post leather Western cowboy boots. I paid for these $25 at a yard sale that was right down the road, just like 4 houses down from my house. I wasn't even going to yard sales on this day. I was going to Walmart. I was on my way to Walmart and I was like, oh, they're having a yard sale. And I think it was just later in the day, and I don't like to go if I don't wake up super early and get out there by 7:30 or even 7 o'clock sometimes. So I just pulled over, got in there, and yeah, I bought these and I believe a cowboy hat for $5. That one sold right away. These did take a little while to sell. I had them listed at $295, but I did take an offer after about 3 or 4 weeks of $195. Okay, so my next best sale was on Mercari, and I was really surprised about this one. This is a St. John piece. Now, okay, you guys, so I spent a lot of money on a bulk amount of St. John pieces from someone I met at Goodwill. She came up to me and asked me if I was a reseller, and normally I don't know. Normally I just don't know why they're asking that, but I told her, yes, I am a reseller. And she said, that's great. I used to own a boutique or a consignment shop in Atlanta, or no, not Atlanta, in Savannah, Georgia. And she moved here and didn't have her consignment shop anymore, but she still had a lot of her inventory. So she was looking for someone to maybe buy some of the pieces from her. Now, I did ask around on a Facebook group, and everyone there said that I shouldn't pay more than $5, maybe $10 for the pieces because they do tend to sit for a while. Now, I do try to take some advice that I see on there, or even that I get on there, because sometimes I see not the best advice given, and I think, well, maybe people there are more focused on Poshmark and, you know, they don't realize that things sell differently on eBay. So I kind of ignored that advice and ended up paying $26 a piece for these St. John pieces. But I'm not gonna lie, I was really nervous when I got home because I spent a total of $700 on these St. John items, and I was really nervous. But I am happy to say it's been not even a month and I've already made more than half of the $700 I've spent, and I think I still have 16 pieces left to sell, more than half of what I purchased. So anyway, that's just a little information on that. So this was a surprising sale because on Mercari, St. John didn't seem to do well at all. You know, when you go and you list an item, and the platforms like eBay, Poshmark, or Mercari, they will give you a suggestion at what to price it at based on the information you gave it, like the brand and size and style or whatever. So anytime I would list the St. John pieces on Mercari for like $100, $200, it would say, oh, you know, these usually sell for about 15 to 20. So I didn't expect to make any sales on Mercari, so I was very surprised with this one. Another fact about this one, I had just the sweater listed, and then later on as I was digging through the pile, I realized I had a matching skirt for it. So I wanted to sell it as a set because you can make more selling them as a set. So I was a little bummed when the person purchased the sweater because I had realized it and I hadn't had the chance yet to redo the listing as a set. So my husband said, don't be bummed about it, just message her and ask her if she wants the skirt too. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. I don't know why I just didn't think of that on my own, but I messaged her and she said, absolutely. So that was a really nice little upsell. So yeah, I ended up selling both the sweater and the skirt for $145. My next best sale was another St. John 2-piece set. It was for this like hot pink colored, and this one sold for $125. A little information on this one. About 3 days prior to this sale, I received an offer for $125, and I countered, I think $150. But as soon as I countered, I kind of regretted it and they didn't accept it. So I was very bummed about that. But 3 days later, I got the same exact offer of $125 from another buyer. And in order to not feel remorse or regret again, I decided to accept that offer, and I was very happy with that sale. Okay, so this next sale was a major pain to say the least. So these Doc Martens I got at a yard sale. Now the owner, to me, they looked like they were brand new. And the owner came out and she told me she had never worn them. She had just stored them. And from the looks of it, to me, they also look like they had never been worn. So I paid up for these. I paid $50 for them, but I was pretty confident that I could sell them for at least $150. So here was the dilemma with this sale. First of all, it got mixed up. someone on eBay bought a Barbie, a vintage Barbie, and then this person bought these Doc Marten boots and they totally got mixed up. So that was a major pain in the butt because the person who wanted the Barbie doll but got the boots, that was on eBay, they really took their time in sending it back to me. Now, of course, if you sell on both platforms, you already know this, it's a little more difficult with eBay. They have 30 days to do a return. So she really could have taken her sweet time, and she did. She took about a week to return it to me. And that was a bummer because the person on Poshmark was waiting for their boots and they were willing to wait. I explained to them the situation. But towards the end, they did get a little frustrated, but I did update them as much as I could once I got the tracking information. Anyway, so I received everything back and I boxed everything back up, I opened it up, made sure everything was still good, boxed it back up, shipped it to the right people. Luckily, thankfully, both the Barbie buyer and the Doc Martens buyer still wanted their items, even though they had been waiting a couple weeks. So I was very grateful for that. So the Doc Martens are finally delivered to the buyer on Poshmark, and I get a notification that a case has been opened against me on these boots. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? So she opens up the case and says that the item was listed as new and they are not new. And she submits photos of the inside of the boot, which I normally take pictures of. And I don't know, I didn't catch this at all, but her pictures did show some wear on the inside tag, like maybe some fading. I still think that they were not worn like the person I bought it from in the yard sale said, and that they were just stored and maybe just the tag faded. I don't know. But she said, I want 50% of my money back since they're not new. So I commented on the case and said, you know what, they're in excellent condition. If they're not brand new and they are in fact pre-owned, I wouldn't have listed them for $50, which is what she was trying to get them for. Oh, so let me backtrack a little. I gave her a discount because of the mishap with the shipping. So when she repurchased them the second time, I said, I'm gonna take off, I think it was $20. I think she bought them for $120, and then I sold them to her for $100 just because I felt really bad about shipping her the wrong item and making her having to do all of that and wait for her item so long. So now she got them for $100. Now, remember, I didn't want to sell these for less than $150 to begin with. And so I took her $120 offer the first time and then sold them to her for $100. Now, these hadn't been listed for a long time at all, so I didn't need to be desperate in any way for the sale. I think I only had them listed for 2 or 3 weeks. So again, I responded to the case and said, I will be happy to take this item back if the buyer is not happy with it. So Poshmark went ahead and approved the case for the buyer to send it back to me. And since she didn't get her $50 or 50%, which would have been $50 refund, she said, you know what, it's fine. I decided to keep them. So then Poshmark released my earnings because the buyer did not ship the item back to me within the 3 days allowed time. Oh my God. So that was the dilemma with those Doc Martens. That honestly, the dilemma started as soon as I got in my car because I was like, should I have paid $50 for these? I don't know. I just wasn't sure how long I was going to sit on them for. And I think that's why I took the offer within a couple weeks, just because I was kind of stressed about paying $50 for an item. Anyway, moving on to my next sale, which was also on Poshmark. However, the buyer was very happy and left a 5-star review, and it is for this Hill House, the nap dress. I also paid up for this. This one I paid $27 for, but I checked comps and they looked really, really good. The sell-through rate looked really awesome on eBay. So I was pretty confident that I could sell it for at least $100. I think I did take an offer for $80 on this though, which made my profit a total of $34. So I more than doubled my money there. The next item that sold is another St. John piece that I got from that bundle, and it sold on Poshmark for a total of $70 for this cardigan. So yeah, you guys, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I know I paid up $27, but with a $70 sale, I got back $53.98, which made my profit $26.98. So I literally doubled my money there. My next best sale were these Birkenstock boots, which I was excited to find because I didn't know Birkenstock made boots. So as soon as I found them and the condition they were in, I knew it was going to be a good sale and I knew it was going to be a quick sale. I paid $8 for these and they sold for $70, and I think they sold within a week. The next item that sold on eBay and is another St. John piece. So you guys, a lot of people told me on this Facebook group that, you know, St. John just sits and sits and sits. I mean, I do have some other ones that are sitting, but a lot of them did sell pretty quickly. So this pink tweed skirt sold for $65.98. That's including shipping. So it was probably more like $60, and then they paid the $6 for shipping. Okay, so the next sale was this Amy Kestenberg bag, and it sold on eBay for $58.98. I paid $7.82 for this one, and that was a very quick sale, probably about a week. So the next sale, like I said earlier, I decided to list the St. John pieces on Facebook Marketplace just to open up my window of opportunity so that I could sell these pieces that I paid a lot of money for. And I'm glad I did, because I did sell this skirt on Facebook Marketplace for $58. And as you know, or if you don't know, the fees on Facebook Marketplace for shipping is only 5%, and that is the lowest of any platform that I know of. So that was a really good sale for $58 with such a low percentage taken out for fees. Okay, so that was my 10 best sales in the month of October. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my 5 not so great sales. Okay, so these 2 items, I say it wasn't a great sale, but I say it's a great sale because I had them both for so long. And because I received a notification that I sold a bundle on Mercari, and I'll be honest, I didn't know Mercari sold bundles. I know I used to have to create a bundle listing for someone if they said, hey, can you put these 3 items together for me? And that was a major pain in the butt. I think I remember Mercari announcing that they were doing bundles, but I just totally forgot about it. So when I saw the notification on my phone that I sold a bundle on Mercari, I was like, oh, that's super awesome that they're making it easy for us sellers now. And yeah, so these 2 items I had for a very long time. The Macbeth tank top I got at Plato's 90% sale, and I paid $1.92 for it. But man, that's how I learned that even at the 90% sales, don't buy everything just because some of the things go for like 90 cents at their 90% sales, but I've done that when I first started reselling, and the first few times I went to the 90% off sales, and I would just buy anything and everything because it was only $1, but some of that stuff sat for a very long time. So I just recently went to a 90% sale at Plato's, and that's probably going to be one of my next videos, either a tour of the office or my haul of items I got from that 90% sale, which was much less. I usually would have a receipt like the length of my arm. This time I was more selective. Also this time, I happened to go on the 3rd day of the sale. I didn't even mean to go there on the sale. I was just going there to do some sourcing, and I didn't realize they were having a 90% off sale. So I got a few pieces, nothing crazy, but I'm proud of myself that I didn't pick up the kind of stuff I would have picked up before. The next item that sold on eBay for $9.98, and my profit, you guys, was 28 cents on this soft surrounding orange mother of pearl top I had for a very long time, since actually just a year, it looks like. Just a little over a year. So I don't know what I was thinking a little over a year ago when I should have been way more experienced at sourcing, but you know what? It happens. I don't know. Maybe I was hungry. I know I do this to myself all the time. I go sourcing and I forget to grab my snacks, and then I just make really bad decisions. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's what happened here because I really should have known better. Okay, so the next sale that had a very low profit for me was this Tonka dump truck. Now, I'm not upset about it because it actually sold in the yard sale, but I have it here because it's one of the few items I put out there that I had listed or that I had originally sourced with the intention to resell. So I sold that at the yard sale for $10, but I paid $7.79 for it. So my profit there was only $2.21, but it did go to a neighbor 3 or 4 houses down with a little boy. So that was a good sale. It was nice to see who it was going to. Okay, this next sale, J. Jill Canvas Espadrille lace-up shoes. I actually got these at the bins. I don't shop at the bins very often, so whenever I have a sale from the bins, I normally remember. But I did pay $1.68 for these, so not a lot. Now, I got a lot of likes and watchers and all of that on these, but no one would ever buy. So on Mercari, I got a notification that someone liked it. So I sent them a $10 offer, hoping to just get rid of them, and they accepted the offer right away. So my profit there was $6.25. So always happy to still have a profit on an item that I had listed for a long time. Here is another terrible sale. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I went through a period where I just picked up anything embroidered. Like, I didn't care what the brand was. I just said, if it's embroidered, it's gonna sell. So this item I paid $4.27 for, and I had it for a little over a year. I told you already, I paid $4.27, and it sold for $10.98 on eBay, and my profit there was 28 cents. So we are no longer just picking up items just because they're embroidered. Okay, so the next item is this Bagli Mishka, hopefully I pronounced that right, dress, which, you guys, I had been meaning to relist this. I have a process for relisting items that I do on List Perfectly that I would love to show you guys someday soon. Hopefully it's on my list of videos to make, but some of my older items aren't a part of this process yet because I didn't get to them yet, if that makes sense. Anyway, this item was due to be relisted and I hadn't gotten the chance to relist it yet. So it sold for my full asking price of $12 because I had dropped it so many times, and that's why I wanted to relist it. So I wasn't super bummed, but I was like, oh man, I wanted to relist that when I saw that it sold for $12. I paid $5.96 for it, so my profit there was only $3.09. This next item is this Mondi. It is a vintage blazer that sold for $12, and my profit there was $7.75. I paid $1.30 for this at a yard sale, and I remember this yard sale very, very, very well. The woman was moving, I believe, from Florida to Arizona, and she was just the nicest lady ever. And when I walked in, the yard sale was in the whole house. So everything in the living room, everything in the kitchen, everything in the bedrooms, and the bedroom had all of these clothing racks with all of these beautiful vintage pieces. So I told her, I said, you have a lot of really beautiful pieces here. I did sell probably my best sale ever. I'm gonna pop that up right here on the screen. And it was this Missoni dress that I sold. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know it says 500, but it sold in a bundle. So I think ultimately it sold for $350. I don't have that part of my spreadsheet up in front of me right now. But anyway, it was an amazing sale. I knew it was an amazing piece, and I paid $1.30 per piece for these items. And yeah, she was selling her deceased mom's clothing, and she was talking about her mom, and it was just a really, really nice experience. She knew I was going to resell these items, and she was okay with that. She didn't mind. She, I think, tried to consign them herself, but she said she didn't have time for that. So she was just happy to sell them in bulk to someone. Anyway, so this other piece did not do as well for me, and that's okay. Again, profit there was $7.75. Okay, I just realized I said I was going to show you guys my 5 worst, and I showed you 7, but that's okay. Hopefully you stayed around until the end. If you did and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I will be back with more videos like it, and I'd love to show you guys a tour of my new reselling shed. It is a tight and small space, but I'm making it work, and you know, you do what you got to do. At the end of the day, I do not want the overhead of an outside warehouse or an outside space of any kind. I don't want to commute anywhere. I don't want to pay rent. I mean, I will say I'm paying more money on my light bill because I have to run an AC in there to keep it, to keep the humidity low, because I live in Florida and it can get kind of humid. So, I mean, it's insulated and all of that, but I don't know, it's a shed. So I've been monitoring the humidity in there to make sure that everything is good. So again, that's what I'm paying for the most as far as overhead. And yeah, so I can't wait to show you guys that. Consider subscribing, liking the video. Let me know your thoughts on the St. John pieces, you guys, that I paid $26 a piece for. I know that's a lot, but again, I'm pretty confident now that I've sold, I believe I got 26 pieces and I've sold about 9. So, and I've already made more than half of my money back. About 75% of the $700 I spent, I've gotten back. So we're really close to getting to the point of making a profit on these. But yeah, I know I paid up for it, and I'm hoping that the other pieces don't sit for too long. But let me know what you think and how St. John pieces do for you. All right, I'm gonna get back into my shed and finish organizing and making it into my comfortable space and get some listings in. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.